Nunhead Cemetery is a dog walker's paradise. There are dogs everywhere I look. Even the canines want to make the most of this landscape. Good mornings and salutes pass between owners. Labradors sniff at the earth, slavering for bones. There's no such thing as the dog poo fairy, a poster declares. I look at the first headstones I can see. Moss has written itself into the glyphs of the text, cancelling out language. Urns have toppled and crucifixes broken. A stone dog has been placed back to rest on a gravestone. A vine has broken a gravestone in half. Roots rest against the memorials they have fallen from. A whole Buddha of broken boughs, vines and branches is in front of me, each element seemingly working to bring all attempts to remember the dead down to earth level. The clamour of nature here is unlike any other cemetery I've been inside. I instantly fall in love with the place. I first got involved with looking for poets in graveyards during the project at West Norwood Cemetery, and it struck me as a really simple but interesting idea, which was to use the 7 amazing cemeteries of London known as the Magnificent Seven as a parameter, if you like, or a constraint for finding a great lost poet. And this is something I've continued here at Nunhead. I'm using the landscape really to suggest who this lost poet might be. That in turn sends me off looking at libraries, looking at the internet, reading the books by these poets, and really thinking about why have the poets here been forgotten, and the poets that perpetually come up in the syllabus and in the canon and on bookshelves, why are they remembered? So there's lots of reading, lots of walking around these spaces, and really giving the poets that I find here a fresh read and hopefully a new readership through the books that I'm writing. The book that I've written about Nunhead Cemetery, Cenotaph South, I've found 12 poets for this book, 1 woman, 11 male, all Victorian, born between the 1770s and dying in the 1920s, so 150 years of time. And through reading these poets, I've read a lot about their personal stories and struggles, but also about the context in which they wrote. The Victorian era, some of them incredibly rich, some poor, some may be overlooked because they're female, others because they cared less about readership in their lives. This cemetery itself is incredible and quite distinct for its woodland nature. It's very overgrown, very lush, which makes finding the poets' memorials quite a challenge. But through perseverance really over the few years of writing the book, I've managed to find the memorials of most of the poets, and I've managed to find poems by all of the poets which I write about in Cenotaph South. The tombs of great men, in the chinks of which the nettles have grown undisturbed ever since the great fire, are now being uprooted. Milton's house had become part of the punch office. A printing machine clanks where Chatterton was buried. Almost every moment, some building worthy of record is shattered by the pickaxes of ruthless labourers.